So I'm here with Benny Scholl, the lead singer of Seattle-based heavy rock band Avoid. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Very, very well, thank you. I'm very excited for this interview.
Me too, man. This is I love doing podcasts. I haven't done it a ton yet, so this is really exciting for me.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, this is the place to be for the interviews as well. I wanted to jump straight in to the new album release you got coming out. So how excited are you for the release?
I'm so excited. This is a collection of a lot of people's hard work, and I'm very happy to say that I'm proud of what we did, and I'm really proud to show it to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, with anything, I can imagine you're extremely proud of not only your band's work on this, but also the people revolved around you and how much hard work they put into it as well.
Yeah, we really set off about this time last year. We started building this awesome team around us of people that we were excited to work with and people that were excited to work with us. And it
Hmm.
has been wonderful. And about this time last year is when we were over in North Carolina and we met the Revival Recordings people in person for, well, the first time for my bandmates, not my. That's a story that we'll probably get into later. My whole backstory with Revival, but we've really built this awesome team around us, and everyone's worked so hard. And my bandmates are some of the hardest working people we have, and I think we just have this incredible team around us that it feels really good, you know?
Yeah, I mean that is actually one of the questions I have later on. Is should we just do it now? So
Yeah, let's just
we
do
can
it.
jump
Let's hop
now.
into it.
So obviously, I know you guys are signed to Revival Recordings, who are the label who are kindly sponsoring this podcast as well. What is it like
Awesome.
to work with such an artist-friendly label?
It's really cool, man. It is incredible because they really do give us so much freedom to basically do whatever the fuck we want, in a
Nice.
good way. Like they are so supportive of us in our vision, and it's been really fun to work with them, and everything that they've worked with on like there's been really good criticism. Like Sean has like given us tips on some songs. He was like, hey, you guys, like I think like, and he's never been pushy about it, but he was like, hey, I really think that this would sound cool, you should give it a try. And then we did, and we all loved it, and it was very, very like people working together, and it's been very, yeah, just really good.
Nice, great. So obviously, I've spoken to Aaron as well, who
Yeah, I actually listened to that not too long ago to
yeah,
get briefs for this.
it was great. I mean, she speaks so highly of you guys as well, and how hard you
She
work as
is
well.
incredible, man. She is so awesome. She works so hard herself, and we have to give her a lot of credit for staying on us so hard and helping us so much. She is incredible, man.
Yeah. So you said you had a story about Revival Recordings.
Yeah, it's really funny. So, because I've known those guys for about a year and a half ish now.
Hmm.
Because I'm really good friends with another Seattle-based band who used to be on Revival Recordings. They're no longer on them. They're called Verses, and so we've played shows with them, and I've known those guys for years. And I actually started tour managing for them,
Okay.
and they went out with Alisana in February of last year, and I tour managed on that tour, and I became friends with Aaron really closely and met Sean and all the guys in Alisana. And yeah, so I toured with them for like 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks, whatever that tour was, and got to know them, and then just stayed really closely in touch. And Aaron, like few months after the tour, actually started managing us. And so we got really close with those guys, really, and we got to build a really like natural relationship. It wasn't like
Yeah.
anything we were thrown into. We got to be really excited about the people we were around.
That's great. That's great to hear. And then obviously from there, you guys signed to Revival Recordings.
Yeah, so Aaron managed us for about 6 months, and we had just kind of talked on and off about if we wanted to do it, like could we, like would Sean be interested, and kind of stuff like just kind of testing the waters. And then we went out, we toured last summer with a band called Shatterproof, who are also on Revival Recording,
Hmm.
incredible band. And we went out and we played in North Carolina for 2 days at they had a there's this cool festival over there called Hopscotch, and they had a day party there for 2 days, and we actually played both days, and we played in front of their team and got to meet them. And that's when Sean told us that he wanted to sign us, and it kind of all went from there.
That's great.
Yeah, so it was really cool.
And then obviously you started writing this album that you've got coming out, and
Yes.
so obviously it's out on 31st of August. What's the overall reception you're hoping from your fans with this album? Obviously, besides a lot of positivity, is there anything you're sort of expecting people? Are you expecting people to be overwhelmed and sort of shocked on sort of what you guys can produce?
Yes, and I want people to just listen to it. I think we went to both extremes, to heavy and like really rock light. We have both extremes on this album, and I think there's songs that like people aren't gonna like, and there's songs that people are really going to like, and I think that there's a song for everyone on it. So I just hope that people listen to it, give it a chance, and find those songs that they like, because I think that I really do. I think there's something for everyone on it.
I completely agree, because I'm not the sort of the typical listener that would listen to heavy rock or strands of heavy metal, but this is an album that I actually really enjoyed.
I appreciate that, man.
And it's just I've listened to the new album, and I was really impressed with sort of the direction that you guys are going in. It sounds really good, very polished, and just something that, like you say, is for everyone. There's not one song on there that sounds the same, and there's also a lot of directions those songs go in, and you don't really know what's going to happen next. It's quite exciting, and I listened to it straight through, but from start to finish, which is quite rare for me nowadays. I don't normally do that, so yeah, you've got my attention on it.
Fuck yeah, man. I really appreciate that. And that's what we really wanted. And we tried to space songs out so that you didn't know what was coming next. Like we didn't have a theme to, we're going to put the heavy songs in the beginning of the album and then put the light songs in the middle, and we kind of just tried to make it a roller coaster.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And then, so when you were starting to write this album, what sort of general direction were you thinking of going when you first started the sort of concept of the album? Was there an initial idea of how you wanted this to sound, or were you just sort of rolling with it and seeing what sort of concepts you were songwriting and sort of building on?
We had no idea, if I'm being completely honest with you. We went into this with no direction in mind, and we were excited about that, because we just wrote whatever the fuck we wanted to.
Nice.
And I think that we naturally, we've been in heavy band. Well, this is actually the only band I've ever been in, weirdly enough. We used to have a different name, but I've been playing music with our guitar player, Nick, for over 5 years now. And this has been all I've ever done music related. And so him and I have a really good chemistry now when it comes to writing together. And we really just wanted to drop thinking about, we want to be like this band, we want to have elements of this and that. And we, of course, used all that because that's what gets us excited, but we didn't think of it with a genre in mind, Yeah. So that's what we call it, heavy rock, because there's definitely, if you want to get all technical with the subgenres, not every song is a quote unquote heavy rock song,
Yeah.
Some of it is definitely really heavy. And so, but some of it is definitely pretty light. And so that's what we wanted. And so we kind of went in blindly, writing whatever got us excited. And we just kind of built off that.
So what would you say you were more hesitant to put out there on this album? The sort of less heavier music, or the more heavier side of the album?
The less heavier side.
Okay, yeah.
We kind of established ourselves as even though all of the other weird thing for us is, through this band, we haven't really released much music, so we've only technically been a band on paper for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. But in our old band, Avoid the Void, that was a band for 5 years, we really didn't release much music, and we kind of just toured a lot and played a lot of shows and put out an EP and a single here and there. But we really established ourselves in the heavy scene, even though we were never that heavy of a band. Yeah. But we had a lot of fans. All of our fans were heavy fans. And so we were hesitant about them fucking with the light stuff.
Yeah.
Because we knew they were going to like the heavy stuff,
Oh yeah, definitely. So
yeah.
How do you feel with the heavier fans? How do you think they will perceive these new songs then that are slightly lighter?
I think that they're gonna like it, because of the fact that we tried to do that with our singles. We tried to kind of give a taste of everything, mm-hmm. to people to know this isn't going to be a heavy album or a light album. You're going to have a little bit of both. And I'm just really, like I said, I'm really proud of these songs, and I think that they're catchy enough, and they're something that, heavier fans, if they're feeling a little light and they want to have a little bit of a guilty pleasure song, it'd be something that they'd be into. It's not, I don't think it's generic enough that it won't still excite people.
Yeah, so you'd say that your fans are very much like with open arms, and they can appreciate anything you guys have been released, especially with such a lot of new material.
Yeah,
such a new band still. I mean, it's a whole album for them to digest.
That's what I'd really hope, at least. And I can't, like I said, I can't make anyone like it or hate it, but I would really hope, because the whole vibe that we want to give off with our fans and our friends is that we just love everything and everyone, and we don't really give a fuck who you are and what you sound like and shit like that. And so I would just hope that people receive us the same way, and they just appreciate the honesty in our songs and see them for what they are, instead of trying to think of us towards a genre.
Yeah, definitely. So do you want to talk me through the songwriting process thing? So obviously you said you've got a really good relationship with your guitarist on writing these songs.
Yeah. So the songwriting process, yeah. Sorry. No. It's pretty crazy. So it usually starts with our guitarist Nick. He comes with a riff, and he brings a riff to the table, and we all kind of start tweaking it and being like, hey man, I really like that. Let's build off that. Let's build off that. And then he's just a little workhouse, because we'll like call it a day, and then 2 hours later it'll be midnight and we'll just all be in bed doing it, and he has a full song written. And it's crazy. Right. And so we're like, shit. And then from there we usually kind of start tweaking it, and then all of us kind of come in as a producer role. And our bass player Jason, he is a really big help on the songwriting. He's kind of like Nick's right-hand man through all this stuff. Not in a bad, because Jason's a huge process, not to discredit anyone, you know what I'm saying? But they both work so hard, but Nick really spearheads the songwriting process and the recording process, because Nick and Jason mix all of our songs as well. So really? They do all the production side of things. Yeah, so they do all the production side of things and do all of our ambience and backtracky stuff, and they do everything. And so they work, like I said, I can't give them enough credit for how hard they work on this and how hard they've worked on these songs, because they put a lot of hours into it.
Yeah, the album sounds fantastic on that.
Thank you, man.
They're
going to be stoked to hear that.
Yeah, you can give them a huge accolade from me, because I thought it sounded fantastic. The whole mix of the album just sounds really big, powerful, just really in your face, but in not too much, not like aggressively, just constantly there, but with such a like high quality sound to it as well.
That's awesome to hear, man. They're going to be so excited to hear that, because they really did. They put the hours in. But as far as the songwriting process goes, it really is Nick kind of pieces together a song, and then we just kind of produce it from there, and we're very much so, if something is not clicking, we throw it in the dumpster. We like our songs to kind of push through. And so if something's taking a little bit too long, and it's something like we've done that with the album where we put it off a little bit too long, but we were supposed to have the album done, and we bailed on a song like 2 weeks before it was supposed to be finished and wrote a new one and got it all done for the album, because we wanted to have a better song.
Wow.
So we very much so pushed it to the end and pushed it to the limits. And I'll probably get into that too. This whole album process was fucking insane. But for the songs, we really just spent a lot of time on tweaking them exactly how we want. And Nick would really get a good outline together. And then we would, I would kind of piece together a full vocal draft. Mm-hmm. And then Nick, Jason, and I would come in together, and then we would tweak it and tweak lyrics. And it was very, very together, Yeah. We worked really together. And then there's some songs that I wrote a majority of the lyrics, and there's some songs that Nick and Jason wrote a majority of the lyrics, because that was just how it came in the revision process. But it was very hands-on and very good, because we don't fight a lot, which was really nice. There was a couple, but we don't really fight a lot. And so it's something that I think we're all really stoked about.
Yeah, that's just natural being humans.
Yeah.
We all have undivided opinions.
We do, but we're like brothers, man. We get over it. Yeah. It's like, it's nothing you can't get over.
No, definitely, it's very true. So with your vocal parts, obviously you sing as well as have your sort of scream parts, and
yes.
How do you distinguish which parts should have which?
I usually kind of just see what way the songs flow in, because the way we used to write was very much so like the verses are going to be screaming and the choruses are going to be singing and there's going to be a breakdown. It's going to be this. But we tried to not do that on this album. And so we just felt parts the way they were. And so there's parts that we had that we wrote full screaming parts for, and then we bailed on them because we're like, not singing is going to sound better there, and vice versa. So it really, we just played whatever part would sound the best.
So before we get on to the rest of the interview, folks, we're going to hear a quick message from our sponsors. So let me tell you about the most innovative approach to new music that exists today. Revival Recordings, an artist-first record label based out North Carolina, and has introduced Revival 52, a commitment to fans to release new music every Friday for 52 weeks of 2018. From metal to pop punk to indie rock, Revival 52 will be bringing something new for you to enjoy every Friday. So do go enjoy great music from your favourite record label for free right now. That's Revival 52 on Spotify, and that's ffm.to/revival52. So is there, on this album, is there a specific section in a song that sort of really took your voice to the next level, in a way you never expected it to go?
Yes, there's two songs that I can distinctly remember kicked my fucking ass. Let me tell you what. And those would be Shapes, which I believe is like the 7th song on the album.
It's actually one of my favorites.
Thank you, man. I'm really happy to hear that. And Buckshot, the last song.
Okay, so yeah,
both of those songs. Yeah, both of those songs really were pushing me to the highest of highs. But I'm very stoked with the product, you know? It took a lot of hard work, but I'm very proud of it.
So is it just a case of a lot of vocal training before you fully recorded these songs?
Yeah, I'm really just practicing. I actually haven't been vocal trained. I've taken vocal lessons here and there, but I've never been professionally vocal trained. Yeah. So it's just a lot of practice and practicing over and over and over again until I get it to where I want. And then we really just work hard in the studio to get the best of the best takes.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like the best way to go. Practice is perfect, as they say. So, obviously, having listened to the new album, there seems like there's a lot of layers and a lot of work has gone into the actual production of this album and also the songwriting process. When you've got the whole bulk of the song completed and you've sort of put little elements and layers here and there onto it, at what point do you stop nitpicking at a song and sort of leave it as it is? As I can imagine it's quite difficult to finish a song of sort of that scale and power. What sort of point do you go, okay, I think we can leave this here. It could do with some more, a couple of other instruments or just a couple of layers, but I think we'll leave it here. Is that quite hard to do?
It's really hard to do because we are perfectionists and we want to tweak everything and have everything be exactly the way we want it. And to know where that exact stopping point is really tough to tell. And I think, again, it's a very natural thing. You just kind of have that feeling of, okay, this is complete. You listen to it all the way through and if you can feel happy with it, at where it's at, that's kind of where we leave it, you know? Mm-hmm. And Nick is, like I said, he is a madman when it comes to this production stuff and all of our little layers. And so he is really the one that puts that last, like, the final call on it, you know? He is a really big spearheader of that process. And so kind of figuring out exactly when all of us are happy with it, and then he's for sure done with all of his little layers.
Yeah. And then, have there been a couple of songs on your minds that you can think of which have been really hard to stop?
Sorry, one more time.
So, have there been any albums on any songs on the album that have sort of been really hard to stop nitpicking at and sort of complete?
Yeah, I think "Thoughts of You" was one because. I don't want to say it was rushed because it's actually my favorite song on the album, but I think that it was like I wanted that song so badly to be perfect that we didn't know exactly where to stop. And probably Shapes as well. That was another one that we kind of revisited and redid a lot of things on to make it exactly the way we wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I can imagine that those two songs. I think 'cause Shapes has got a lot of varying styles as well on it.
Yeah, Shapes is actually, I got to give some credit to Sean Milkey as well, owner of Rival Recordings and of Alisana. He was a big part of kind of tweaking those songs to the last bit, because he heard something in that song that we didn't, and he just begged us to give it a chance, and we did, and we all fell in love with it. But that got the gears flowing, and so we kept tweaking it a little bit more, and then we got this really cool thing. But that was a song that had that lot went into it.
Yeah, so we'll dive into the actual album title now. So it's called Alone, and
Yeah.
How come you've chosen this name for the album then?
Because it's very tough for us to always discern in certain themes, because I mean the album's all over the place. There isn't exactly one certain theme that we can all for sure say, but a majority of our lyrics came from a spot of feeling alone and feeling put down upon, and that's where a lot of our inspiration comes from, is our deepest of deep thoughts, and it comes out into this music we create, and we're so proud of the music we create, but they come from those thoughts of feeling alone.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those moments where it was like we didn't want to think too much about it and think too little about it and have this crazy album title like they came from Alone. And that was something that we thought kind of grouped all the songs together really well, because they all stand alone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense. And they.
Yeah.
And are there any tracks that you feel? I know it sounds kind of corny, but are some songs that feel more alone than others? So obviously, some of them really feel quite far distant from some of the actual theming around the album.
Yeah. Thoughts of You is probably one, because that's more of a kind of a song towards something else rather than feeling alone towards yourself. It's more about getting yourself out of a bad situation and picking yourself up. And I would also probably say Shapes, because Shapes, yes and no, because it came from an old song that we created, so that's always going to have that feeling in my mind that it didn't really come from this new sense,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So were there any particular songs on this new album that fans should keep an eye out for when you're on tour?
Probably Thoughts of You, By Myself, and Hate Me are songs we're probably always going to be playing.
Yeah. And you're excited?
Hate Me is a really fun one to play live.
Yeah, and and they're obviously quite excited to play all these new songs as well.
Yeah, we're really excited. We've been playing a majority of the singles for this year when we've been on tour, and some of the songs we've actually had for a while, and they made it onto the album, like End of an Era in 28 Days. End of an Era was actually a song that we used to play in Avoid the Void. It's the only one that's the actual song we played in Avoid the Void that's on the record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
that's... Yeah, sorry. No, I didn't have anything. Sorry, keep going.
I was going to move on to a section with the Revival Recordings and independent label.
Yes.
So obviously working with an independent label, that, like you say, they give a lot of freedom to you guys to just do whatever you want within sort of the musical realms. Do you have any advice or kind of lesson could you give other people that might potentially be looking to sign with a record label, and why they should go with an independent label in particular?
I think the biggest advice I'd have to a band that's looking towards signing is just make sure you're ready.
Yeah. Make
sure you're ready for it, because it is you have to take your band to that next step. If you're going to sign to a label, you really got to be ready to go. And so be ready for it if you're looking for it. But I would say go with an independent label that's going to help you grow. And that's because I think that's been a biggest thing for us, is it's opened our eyes to a lot of new things. And they very much so let us have freedom with giving guidance.
Yeah. So
and I really like that.
That's another thing, sort of guidance within your band as well. So not only are they pushing you to try new realms, they're also guiding you in sort of not holding your hand through new things, but sort of making sure that you're going in the right direction, leading the way, as it were.
Yeah, and it was really cool because when we were one of the first bands to do the revival singles plan for our full length album.
Okay.
That was really because we were the, I believe, the first or second band that got announced on the label in January. So we got announced right at the beginning of the new year, and from that was our first single out for our album, and we've put out singles almost every month since then.
Wow.
And so that was a strategy that we didn't expect to do going into it, because, you know, you usually hear an album, you put out 2 singles, you put pre-orders for a couple weeks, and then you put out 8 songs that no one's ever heard. But this is a weird case where a majority of the album's actually been out for a while, because we've been trying to put out new songs every month and often, like every 6 weeks.
So there's a lot for audiences to listen to already.
Yeah, and we've tried to, and it's really been crazy to see how it's grown, because people knew that we were going to have something coming out pretty soon after we released something.
Yeah.
Because we always had it coming, and everyone knew within 6 weeks there would be another song.
And how has that played out for you guys then, in general, with sort of the reception to the songs? Has it sort of given you a direction of what you're expecting for the full album release?
Yeah, and I think that, because overall, I'd say that the songs have been pretty well received, and people have seemed really excited about it, and a lot of people learn the songs and they sing them back to us at shows, which is what I'd hope for, because we hope that they're catchy enough that people would do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that the last songs that haven't come out yet, because it's a mixture of everything, there's a really heavy song that I do not think people are expecting, and a couple lighter songs. So I'm really excited for people to... I think people are going to be stoked.
So, well, I mean, I was fairly stoked when I heard the album. So,
yeah,
if they can go off my recommendation, they're gonna love it. So, so obviously you guys have worked really hard on this album, and you've got some tour dates coming up as well. I've also noticed that you're coming over to my country and you're playing in the UK next month.
Unfortunately, we are not. That was a misprint. There's a band in... I don't know where it's coming from, but there's a couple other... I really wish we were, man, because, fuck, that'd be so fun. But unfortunately, we're not going to the UK. There's been another Avoid that's been popping up on our tour dates, and they've been saying that we're coming to Germany and the UK and all this stuff, and we're like, fuck, we're not actually coming there. So we're trying to get that sorted out, but we're going to be doing a lot of U.S. touring, and hopefully getting to some overseas stuff next year, maybe 2020. You know, it's a long process to get over there.
Yeah,
especially with building your band.
Yeah, so you're expecting a lengthy tour for next year then?
It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. You know, we're just gonna go, and that's kind of what the rest of this year is going to be. Some touring in the fall. Taking the winter off and doing some more regional stuff, going from weekends, doing shows kind of within 18 hours of Seattle. Yeah. And then mid-February, early March of next year, just go and hit everywhere we can and do 8 months, 12 months straight touring.
Well, you heard it here first then. There's going to be a tour coming up very soon. Within
a lot of tours coming up very soon.
Early next year, you'll be able to see Avoid coming to a US town near you.
That is, you can definitely say that. The towns you've never heard of, we'll be there.
You just see them popping up everywhere.
Everywhere. Freaking middle of Wisconsin that has population of 10 people. We're definitely playing in that local bar.
And then
we want to play everywhere.
And then you'll be playing at like Red Rocks the year after or something. Hey,
man, that's the goal, you know? That's all we can hope for.
That would be the dream. So I'm going to give you 1 minute now. So I'm going to give you the floor of the podcast, and you're going to have 1 minute to summarize what Avoid have coming up and things for the fans to look forward to, as well as the new album. I'm going to give you the floor.
All right. Well, if you're a fan of Avoid or you're looking into us, you can definitely expect a lot of touring coming up over the next year or so. And you can expect the new album, lots of new merch designs, lots of contests and giveaways and stuff that's really, really, really fun and involving things. We want to meet you. We want to interact with you. We want to build this crazy community together. And so you can just expect a lot of us being up in your face because we want you to be a part of us. That, I don't know, I have a minute, but that's the biggest thing I can say is we just want everyone to be a part of it.
That's fantastic. So keep an eye out for Avoid being in your face. Benny, thank you very much for joining me. It was great to chat to you, and all the best for the band for the forthcoming months with the album release and touring and extensive touring next year as well.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for having me. We really appreciate it.
That's okay. And obviously we'll catch up when you guys are on tour next year, and we'll find out how much fun you guys are having as well.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to be back anytime.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Just put me to sleep.